Passante returns for the new season of Storage Wars Saturday, June 7th on A&E. Brandi, thank you so much for your time today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Going into season number 16, I mean, tell us a little bit about that anticipation of going to a new season, because obviously people are smarter and, it's getting a little tougher to find those items.
We've been doing this for a really long time. This season is a little different. I mean, we're an hour long as opposed to the half hour that we've been doing for the last, 15 prior. So you get to see a lot more of the background of, the days that we're out there and a lot more fun element to it. We went to an estate sale this season, so that was a little different. And, I won big at that. So I'd like to do more of those for sure. Absolutely.
And as far as, kind of looking back on the past 15 seasons, obviously there's things that like may have been of value that are like you passed, that you weren't able to get. I mean, do you kind of look back on that? Is that kind of how your strategy is, kind of going season to season?
I try not to let myself get down on the units that I didn't win,
Yeah.
especially, because you're just going to beat yourself up every time. And, you just got to just let it go. It wasn't mine to begin with.
And I've heard too, as far as, something is only as valuable as somebody is willing to pay for it. And obviously
Absolutely.
those things change over time as far as, what is hot in the market and whatnot. Like, how do you reassess, what, like, okay, this is something that like I really want and whatnot?
It's funny. I've been learning. Things kind of change over the years. Where there was a period of time where, sort of antique items were not worth as much money, and then it became more of like that mid-century modern vibe that was, became high dollar items and I think it goes with the climate of what's popular on TV. I mean, when it was that Mad Men type situation was really popular, and then so those items, and now it's like what is that British show
Down Abbey?
on Netflix? Yes, no, not Downton
No, no,
Abbey. That was one of them.
I know what you're talking about.
Uh,
Yes, it'll come to me.
yes, I know. I can't
Bridgerton.
remember the name of it. Bridgerton, yes. I mean, and so I think that is also, creating a scenario where people are wanting to buy more antiques now. So that's, it always has a turnaround.
As far as like, going into the show and, kind of knowing the products and the value, I mean, obviously, sometimes too, and I love too, is that something could be adjacent. You might be able to kind of get a sense of something that's there, but you're probably like, if this is here, then something else might also kind of be in this kind of collection of things that are there.
Absolutely. I mean, you have that hope. Sorry, that's my dog. You always have that hope, that if there's, one or two items that look, like they might be valuable, you're hoping that there's going to be more, in a box hidden away in the back corner. But, you never know. You never know.
And I have to acknowledge, some of the wonderful photographs and the, the vintage cameras that are right there behind you. Is that your thing to collect at home?
Yeah, I mean, I try not to keep anything from the units, but I do collect a few small things, but nothing out of bounds. I try to keep as minimal as possible.
Yeah, I can only imagine that could kind of overtake your life if that's how, it ended up becoming, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. If you start becoming attached to those items, you're definitely going to have a house full of just stuff.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about your personal journey, and obviously, your fans have been with you, and that you have an upcoming podcast, and people want to hear what you have to say, want to hear your journey. I mean, talk a little bit about opening up to yourself, and maybe a way you didn't expect when you first started the show.
I didn't expect the show to go anywhere. I mean, I was like, who's going to want to watch this? Because it's not an easy job. It's backbreaking work, and you're going through people's junk, and it's dirty, and sometimes there's just really nasty things in there and critters, and it's not an easy job, and I honestly, I was wondering what the fascination might be, but over time I kind of realized that they love the element of competition. They enjoy learning about something they may not have known about prior to, and we always kind of have a lot of fun in the background. So I think if somebody wins, there's somebody to root for. So people enjoy that aspect of it.
And are you finding too that maybe the storage units that have been there for quite some time have more of the valuable items, and maybe people are a little bit more discerning now what they're putting in there, or is it just kind of always kind of been that same level of playing field?
I mean, I think, there's so many reasons as to why you'd be storing something that's, super valuable. I mean, I think a lot of times, maybe somebody passed away and they just, emptied the house quickly and put everything in there and didn't, bat an eyelash at it because they just didn't want to even go through it. Um or often, you get in a scenario where you have to put all of your things in there and you don't ever assume that you're not going to be able to pay for your storage unit.
Yeah.
It's hit or miss, but um I don't know. I mean, I think uh we all just sometimes have excess and, need somewhere to put it.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. And it's always fascinating to me too when there's always a famous celebrity, and it's always like the assistant of the assistant who put something in storage and forgot all about it, and suddenly all this valuable stuff is just kind of at anybody's grace and mercy of returning it or selling it, or whose hands it ends up ultimately falling into.
Right, exactly. Exactly. And that's a problem when you have other people taking care of your stuff.
Yeah, and I guess maybe a tip for people, at home too. Whether they're moving and need to put stuff in storage, or maybe their parents are moving, or somebody passed away. Just whatever situation someone might need to put in storage. Maybe some of those things to think about before those things kind of get forgotten and out of sight, out of mind.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I you got to pay more attention to that. But there's everyone has, declines in life and sometimes you just got to figure out what you have to let go of.
Oh, exactly. Well, wonderful, Brandi. Thank you so much for your time today. The new season of Storage Wars, Saturday, June 7th on A&E.
Thank you.
Thank you.